What's up, man?
Oh, man, not much. Just chilling out on a Saturday morning, man.
Sweet. Cool, man. Yeah, so should be like about an hour. If it flows, we'll go a little bit over, but nothing more than like an hour and a half. So nothing crazy, but we aim for an hour.
Okay.
If there's anything, like you drop something, you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't want to say that. Like, oh, can you take that out? Like, just let me know, afterwards, and I'll cut it because I'm actually probably going to put this out probably on Monday or Thursday.
Okay.
Because I want to ask you about Kobe. And I figured you're into sports and stuff, so I haven't really got to talk to anybody about Kobe yet, so
Cool.
Figure that'd be kind of a cool thing to talk about a little bit, but obviously more than we're not just this isn't the Kobe podcast, right? But
right.
I just wanted to talk to somebody who was into sports about Kobe, so we'll talk about that. But I didn't want to I have content for February, March, and stuff like that, but I didn't want to put this out in April, May, and It's like Kobe just died, and you're like, dude, you're a little late on that. So just kind of wanted to give you a heads up, sort of like that. We'll talk about your story a little bit. Be as vulnerable as you feel comfortable. You can be broad if I ask you a question, or we can skip it, or if you want to think about a question, I cut air, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
But yeah, man, it should be pretty fun, and just be yourself. That's all I gotta do.
I'm gonna definitely be that, man. So.
All right. Give me a minute. Writing something down.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay? We're all good on audio, you think?
Yeah, everything
right.
is good.
Sweet. Okay. All right, I'm gonna do my intro and then we'll get going.
Cool.
You want me to just call you Doe? Is that good?
Yeah, that's what everybody calls me. So yeah, it's cool.
Okay. What up, Doe? What's up, my man? How are you?
And I'm good. I'm good for a Saturday morning,
Yeah. Happy Saturday.
Right.
Dude, you real quick, you told me you're a Titans fan, and you guys almost made the Super Bowl. Congrats.
Thank you. Even though I had nothing to do with it, but
you never know.
But man, the city was crazy.
Yeah, you're in Nashville.
Yeah, we're in Nashville, and man, just seeing everybody out. I think the Sunday, the Sunday before the game, I had went to Sam's Bar and Grill to grab some wings, and it was standing room only, and everybody had on Titan stuff. I'm talking about people brought out Kevin Dyson jerseys and Frank Wycheck jerseys, people that ain't played in about 10 years. It's it was just real pandemonium for real. So
man, that's nuts. Yeah, you guys have been pretty bad for a long time, other than that one Super Bowl you made.
Right. I mean, and we had some good seasons, but we never, this was almost a surprise. Everybody acted oh yeah, we was that good. Nah.
Yeah.
Early in the season, everybody was like, shoot, man, another losing season. But yeah. So
keep going, sorry.
But yeah, it was, like I said, it was a surprise. People might not act like it, but yeah, it was a surprise.
How big is sports there? I mean, you guys got the Predators. I can't remember. Is the University of Tennessee over there? Or that I know that's Knoxville, but I don't know how close that is to geographics.
It's in Knoxville, but it's still a lot of Tennessee fans over here. But you'll be surprised that it's probably more Alabama fans around here than it is Tennessee fans.
How does that work?
Man, I don't know. You'll see. I'm telling you, you'll see just as much Alabama stuff as you see UT stuff.
Yeah. So what is it like living in Nashville? What's the culture like?
Man,
It's known for being music
everybody
centered, but
everybody knows that Nashville is Music City, but it doesn't like what's the word I'm trying to say. You think Music City, so you think all music is accepted, but this is really a country music town, and we've really been trying to push that line as far as like hip hop, to outside of Nashville because that's the only thing people think about. Oh, y'all ride horses down there, man? What? It's like, bro, no. Like we got dope artists here, and what's crazy is like Nashville or Middle Tennessee area has really been running like hip hop for the last 5 years with not anybody really knowing. Um, if you think about producer wise, most of the producers have came out of Middle Tennessee, which is like 30 miles down the road from Nashville. So you
the
got
university?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you got people like Tay Keith that came out of NTSU. He's originally from Memphis. You got Thank God for Cody. He's originally from Memphis, but he went to NTSU. He is the one that produced on the weekend for SZA. He did a couple of other joints on a lot of TDE projects. You got Black Metaphor, who's originally from Atlanta but came out of NTSU, who's had a record on. He's done stuff with Rick Ross. It's like crazy. Like I could go on and on. My homie Band Play. Uh, he produced stuff for Young Dolph, Nipsey Hussle.
Whoa.
Like he just got crazy placements. Then my producer, which is Band Play's brother, he's produced for Bryson Tiller, uh, Jacquees, Deontay Hitchcock, Lecrae. So it's like all this music has come out of Nashville, and nobody really knows it.
So let's like dive into your journey, man. Like day one, you emerge out of the womb, and like you're in Kentucky. What was growing up like? Talk about your family life.
Man, Kentucky, man, back home, like it was just like I say of course I lived with my mom. My dad was in the picture, but I didn't stay with him. Like I would stay with him off and on, during my childhood. But I would say that I was raised by my neighborhood. Like like my mom my mother was a single mother, so she would leave me with my grandparents, or who I call my grandparents, and they were up in age, so they never really just kept up with me like that. So I would just be everywhere. I remember walking downtown to like the little antique shops and buying basketball cards, football cards. That's what I was into. And man, just doing that. And then I also had a cousin that was like real heavy into music. Like she had records and she would break dance and stuff like that. And so I remember like early in life, like I
Did you ever get into
learned.
breakdancing?
Man, I hate to admit it, but yeah, dude.
There you go.
I used to dance. That used to be my thing, man. Like just be in the mirror, just dancing for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
but
I'm there with you.
But yeah, man. So with her, it's kind of where I got introduced to music. I remember she had me memorize "Boys in the Hood" by Eazy-E, and she would call all her friends and be like, "Man, listen to Jonathan rap Eazy-E," and I'm just a kid. I'm just saying whatever, but I memorized the song, and then I remember we had this. She had this piano that sit on the front porch of my granddad's house that was out of tune, but she would sit me on her lap and she taught me how to play I Need Love by LL Cool J. I know that makes me real old, but yeah. Yeah, man. That was me growing up. I was just out there. Like I never got into any big trouble, but
yeah. Was
know,
it there though? Were you able to like see it, or were you like far enough removed from
uh like I was there, I wouldn't say that I was removed from anything. Anything that happened, I was right there for it. Like it wasn't anything where somebody tried to keep me away from a situation. I was right there, but you know, I say that somebody was praying for me. You know. So
What was your first like song? Here, let me re-ask this question. Talk about your musical journey and maybe like the first song you made or the process of recording your first song. What was that like?
Man, the first time I recorded a song was on my homie's PC on like a boom mic, like in his living room, and I had just made like this simple beat. I don't even know what I was using then. It was like some computer program, and I had made the beat, recorded on his computer. I remember I like recorded like 2 songs. One was All for the Love of D.O.U.G.H, which at that time I wasn't even going by Do. It just flowed like that.
Yeah, it stands for something. So what does it stand for?
It stands for driven only under God's hands.
Mm.
And
Why'd you choose that?
Man, I'll be completely honest. It just really came to me. At first, I was going by John Doe, and I was rapping about a whole bunch of stuff that, wasn't really about anything. And so, I kind of decided to make a change and like, let's make some music with some substance. And, I just cut the John off, and I was like, I just go by Doe. And then I don't know how, like, it just came to me. Like, I don't know. I always like things with acronyms for some reason. So it just like I was writing on something and it just came to me. Like I didn't have any like. It's not like I sit down with a piece of paper and was writing out. Okay, well, let's see if this works. It literally just came to me. So that's one part. Go ahead.
Have you performed before? Like, what was your first show like?
My first show was at like my official show, like first show was like at Murray State. One of my friends back home, because I think I was in Nashville by then, was saying that they was having a showcase, and if I wanted to come perform, I should go up there. So I just went up there, me and one of my homeboys, and the reception was real good. Like at this time, I didn't know not to, rap over my vocals or anything like that. But like it was a dope feeling. Like everybody really messed with it. A couple of people from back home that went to Murray State was like, "Oh man, you did real good, man. I didn't even know you rapped or anything like that." So yeah.
What are you passionate about?
Man, I have a lot of passions, but my main passion is helping other people like achieve their dreams. And I never noticed that until maybe a couple of years ago. Like people, be like, they'll ask me, different things about music or just life in general, and I was always there to help, point them in the right direction. And that's kind of how Higher Ground started. Was just people would always come to me and ask me questions of how they could do this or how they could market this or push this or whatever. So that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. When did you start Higher Ground? What is it? you know?
Higher Ground was actually like a title of a project that I was working on. And like if you ask my engineer, he's like, dude, I wish I could slap you and make you put out all this music that you have on my hard drive. But basically, it was just me and him. I was like, it was people that would come to the studio that were super talented, and he would always tell me about them. And I'm like, yeah, that sound pretty good. And he's like, man, they don't have anybody that really pushes them or can help them get to this point. And I was like, shoot, let's just do it. Let's like make a something like a label or a production company or something like that. And I say since 2016, maybe we've been helping develop artists and stuff like that, doing management things. He's really like the sound guy. He does the engineering. He's going to get your vocals right, and I'm more of the guy that's out here putting plays together and trying to get the artist heard and stuff like that. Like I'm kind of more of the face,
right?
And he's the guy.
He's the body.
Yeah. Yep.
What's like one of your favorite experiences doing this already?
Oh man, last year I negotiated a contract for a song for my one of the producers that I work with. His name is Chris King, and it was for a Christian hip hop artist by the name of D.O.U.G.H. And that song ended up being on his album that was nominated for a Dove Award, which is like it's almost like a Grammy to like Christian artists. So that was like a big thing for me. With just doing the management production thing.
Yeah. What would be like a tip or advice to someone who either wants to get into music, maybe they want to move to Nashville, do something similar to you, as someone who's a little bit farther along than someone else? Like, what would your advice be to that person?
My advice would be to set goals and stay consistent. Inconsistency really kills a career in anything, man. And that's something that I had to learn. But being consistent and setting goals is like, that's the number one and two things to me, because it gives you a record. It shows your progress. It has something. It gives you something that you can, look forward to. If you set goals, you can kind of make your own roadmap to success. And I think a lot of times people have this mindset of success that it looks like this or it looks like that, but success is all what you do. You can't measure yourself up against someone else. So,
right. Competing against yourself.
Right.
Sorry, it's a little bit loud outside. How do you know Annie LaFleur, who was on a previous episode?
Man, actually, I met Annie at a Who Knew event. It's a event that it's like a monthly event down here in Nashville where it's really about like music publishing and music placement, and it's just like they come together each month and it's a different topic about like music sync licensing and stuff like that. And I met her at one of those, and she sat across the table from me, and we just was chopping it up. I was telling them about the producers I work with and how I wanted to do like a songwriting session, and that's just where it popped off from there.
Mm-hmm. Are you guys like kind of close or just kind of acquaintances? Like, how well do you guys like keep in contact?
We talk like a couple times a month because we're working to get records done with the producers and her being a songwriter. So we talk. We have a group chat on Instagram, so we're always going back and forth in there and just trying to put things together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can point out about Annie that might be kind of cool to share on the podcast?
She's a Cleveland girl, and she's gonna let you know that. I told her she had recently put one of the songs off of the new Eminem album up on her story, and I was like, "You only put that up there because you said something about Cleveland. You don't really." Yeah, so I always mess with her about that.
Shout out to Annie. Yeah, why did you want to be on the podcast?
Man, I feel like sometimes that I'm like one of the, put it in 3-6 Mafia terms, one of the most known unknowns. And I just want to, just have my story told sometimes. I'm always putting a lot of people in front of me. I'm not a selfish person at all. But this year I felt like just telling my own story. I had started a series on my Instagram called "What Up, Though," giving people insight on me because I never really like post a whole lot on social media as far as like anything interpersonal. So I figured, I should let people in more. So
yeah,
that's just a part of this.
Yeah, man. It's a journey. What do you think is like the benefit of sharing your story and being vulnerable?
That you're not alone. That it's a lot of people out here that are going through similar things that you've gone through, and they might have needed to hear your story to help them keep on going forth in whatever they're facing. Just recently, like I put out my first episode, and a guy had commented back and was telling me about how he had lost his wife to cancer, and he had moved back to Tennessee to take care of his parents. And I was just like, wow, I'm just putting my story out there. I would never think that someone would comment and get that personal with me to tell me that. So it's just, man. So it's kind of liberating, man. To be honest.
Right. Yeah, dude, it's weird. Sometimes that stuff kind of hits you out of the middle of nowhere. Like, I don't know, recently this past week, so I make like vintage thrifting videos and stuff. And some dude commented, or not commented, he sent me a video of his first like trip to the thrift video, and he's like in Toronto, Canada. And he's like, dude, I've watched your stuff. Like you don't plan that. Like, I'm in Indianapolis, just
Right.
some dude in Toronto has seen my content, loves who I am. He's like, you inspired me to start filming these, and he sent me this first episode. Like, I don't know, that's kind of cool. But inspiration can come out of nowhere, and then next thing you know, you'd change somebody's life.
Right. Right.
So let's talk a little bit more about kind of what you have gone through, maybe middle school, high school, college age. Like, let's talk about things that happened along the way.
Okay. Well, I spent like my middle school and high school split between my mom and my dad.
Are you in Kentucky at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was still in Kentucky then.
Okay.
Middle school, I at Paducah Middle School, and then I started wilding out a little bit.
Yeah.
And so my dad came and got me, and I went to North Drive Middle School in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Then I ended up going back to Paducah, went to Paducah Tillman High School for my freshman and sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back to Hopkinsville and graduated from Christian County High School. And during that time, like, I went through this phase where I did not want to be there because all my friends were back in Paducah.
Yep.
And so, like, I didn't participate in anything that had to do with school because I did not want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't even go to prom. The last thing I did for school was they had project graduation, and I went back to Paducah like the next day after graduating high school. Uh, from there, I went back to Paducah. I ended up going to tech school, but like when I was in high school, I had already took like a tech class, like electronic technology.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of got boring to me when I went to tech school, and I really didn't like it. So I ended up going to Northern Kentucky University.
Okay.
For marketing. Northern Kentucky University is like literally right across the river from Cincinnati. So,
Mm-hmm.
like going up there, it was like a lot different. But at that time, like in between that time, my mom had moved to Nashville. So I would come to Nashville like on weekends or whatever. And, but I ended up going to school up there. I did 2 semesters, and then I always attributed my college experience to females because I moved back to I moved back to Tennessee, well, to Tennessee, um, and went to MTSU and kind of just got stuck here, and I've been here ever since.
Mm. Do you do like what do you do full time? Kind of what's your gig right now? Like
Uh,
how is everything spread out?
I am a receiving lead at GE. I've been there for about 5 years. Before that, I was working at Assurion, which is cell phone insurance, and I kind of just I do everything else in between those, in between
Mm-hmm.
work. I, book shows and book studio time, and take trips to Louisville on a Monday night when you got to be at work at 6 in the morning, that type of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, like is your goal to do it full time? Like kind of the music stuff,
That
and I know you have also Cashville, which we haven't really talked about yet. But
man, that's the goal. Like this year is like I'm putting in a whole lot more effort. A lot of the people that I've been working with, we just really putting our heads down and working. Um, but I'm also like a wannabe entrepreneur. My dad has a catering business, and I'm looking forward to getting into that this year too. So,
mm,
because I really like, of course, you have to have a job to maintain your livelihood, but at the same time, like I say, I got that itch that all of
preach.
my like because my dad, he's an entrepreneur. He has 2 degrees from Murray State. Like he
Whoa.
has a bachelor's and master's, but ended up being an entrepreneur. Um, my uncle quit his job at Comcast and uh, became a newspaper editor, has his own newspaper. So it's like I had that in me, and I feel at this time like I'm getting that itch where I got to hop off the slave ship, as I
Mm,
say. So that's the goal, is to do this full time.
yeah. Let's talk about Cashville. That's kind of like the clothing brand aspect of kind of. Is it a part of Higher Ground or like is it a separate
No,
thing?
no, this is Cashville is not mine. It belongs to my good friend Carlos Partee. He runs Cashville. Actually, he has a event today called Nashville Black Market. But Cashville is his. Where I come in is I'm kind of like the creative director. Um, I just kind of like give him ideas to market Cashville in different ways. We started um, a series called My Side. It's kind of like a podcast slash interview, visual type thing where it started out being he had these T-shirts that shouted out different sides of the city. Like he had out east, out north, out south, out west, and so I was like, we should do something called My Side that we get different people from these sides of towns that just tell their story. But it ended up kind of like rolling into something else where we changed the format where it's my side of the story, and let me tell it. So
Yeah, that's good. That's good marketing. Good job on that one.
yeah, so that we dropped the first episode the beginning of this month, or no, it was. I want to say it was December. It should be up on YouTube, and they interviewed a guy named Mike Kazi that designed a sneaker, Air Max 95, and had a release show here in Nashville. So, we're just trying to showcase creatives and, entrepreneurs and people of that nature um, on the My Side show. And shout out to Just Jeff and Low. They are the cameraman behind that, and they capture all the footage for Cashville, etc. So I want to make sure I shout them out. I also shout out Gorsa. He's she does all the graphic design, so I want to make sure I shout them out.
Yeah, the whole squad.
Right.
How important is networking in success?
Oh man, like networking is like key. Like I would say I wouldn't get anywhere or any gigs or anything if I hadn't got out there and put my feet to the pavement and showed up at events and were willing to travel. Like there's a lot of people that I know do not get outside of the city, and that's important if you want to, have success in music. Is you have to get outside of your city, and really Nashville is in the center of everything. If you look at it, um, Louisville is 2.5 hours. Cincinnati is like 3 hours. Memphis is 3 hours. Atlanta is 3 hours away.
Dang, yeah.
Charlotte is probably about 6. Even Indianapolis is about 5, maybe. So you can hit the road and promote yourself and get out there and network and not really spend a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
If it's like four people in a car, y'all splitting the gas and y'all all have the same goal, and that's nothing. Like you don't have to go out here and eat fancy, do it for the gram, as they say. You can eat off the dollar menu and do what you got to do as far as moving around.
Flexing on day one. There's too many people flexing on day one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let's talk a bit about like kind of what your interaction's been with mental health, and then also kind of your faith journey. I kind of want to cover both of those because you're a Christian, so I figure that's usually Christians is a little important to them. Religion can be, or relationship with their God. So like let's kind of cover a little bit of that and talk about how, like, what's your relationship with mental health and what's your relationship with kind of Christianity?
For me, it kind of goes hand in hand with mental health and Christianity, for the simple fact that I try to lean into my faith when I'm going through something. For me, like I don't know if you watched my my video or my episode, the first episode, but like for me, 2019 was like super rough. Like the it started like in June. I had moved unexpectedly. Um, then a couple months later, my dad had a stroke. Um, then, like right before Thanksgiving, I was in a car accident, um, and like right at like New Year's Eve, my mom was rushed to the ER, and so, and then after that, I lost my grandmother. That was a couple of weeks ago. So, if it had not been for my faith, I think I would have really went crazy. To be honest. So that's what I lean into for me, uh, as far as my mental health is. I pray and I keep my faith in God that these situations will work themselves out, um, and just that's just something that I've done since a young kid. Is I grew up in church. I grew up singing in the church choir, and that's just something that I've held on to. Just being able to lean into my faith more is actually helping me keep a stable mind. Just reading, I've been reading a lot of books here lately. The one that I've enjoyed the most is called Detours by Dr. Tony Evans, and it's talking about in the Bible where Joseph uh, was going through all these things in order to get to his destiny. And we think that the detours in our life are bad, or some a roadblock in our life, and it's really keeping us from going off course. Really, God is putting you right where you need to be as a lesson to learn from that roadblock or that detour that you needed at that moment, because on down the line it's to be used or to be shared with someone else to keep them from going through the same thing that you went through. So that's where I lean into. I lean into that faith, man, and just trying to keep uh, a clear mind, man, and know that nothing is promised to me, and to
Right.
take advantage of every situation. To
How'd you get
because
better at that? Or not that you're really, really good at it necessarily now, but like what's tips on how to get better at taking advantage of the moment?
man, just you look at situations like Kobe Bryant, for example.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
But like, dude, like you could not tell me like last year that Kobe Bryant would be dead the first month in 2020. Like,
Yeah.
like you think of all the great people, great players or whatever that's still alive, like Bill Russell still alive, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar still alive,
Jordan,
Jordan,
LeBron.
all these guys are still alive, and Kobe Bryant is gone.
Yeah.
So uh, but just that in itself is like, man, like what can I do today that will bring joy to someone else, or you know being in that moment. Just my daughter plays basketball, and it's just like, man, I need to be at every game. What can I teach her? My son played football, and it's like, even in that moment, like I became a coach just because I needed to be there and be in the moment with him. You know, so it's just those type of things is what pushes me to live in that moment, man. Because you never know, life is not promised, and even being in that accident, like if you could see the car, see
Yeah, how
like,
bad was the accident?
huh?
How bad was the accident?
Uh, I caused a 4-car pileup.
Whoa.
I was looking behind me and didn't realize that traffic had stopped. And when I turned back around, I was in somebody's trunk.
Oh my God.
And so my car was totaled. His car was, the guy I hit, car was totaled. The guy in front of him, he had like minor damage to his trunk, and the person in front of him, minor damage. Um, but just I could have went through the windshield or anything. Like it was that high of an impact. So yeah. So I'm just blessed to be here, man, and glad that everyone from that accident wasn't seriously injured. So
Dang, dude.
that's just something that I've been looking at. Like, man, you really could have been out of here. So what are you gonna do with the rest of the time?
Does that go away? Like that like I need to take advantage of this? Does that, just like in any tragedy or kind of like an almost accident, do you eventually like just kind of forget that, let me use a better analogy of like, let's say you get pulled over and you didn't get a speeding ticket, or you got a speeding ticket and you're like, I'm driving 20 miles under the speed limit for like, and then 2 weeks later you're back to speeding again, like, is it like, has that worn off for you, or like, do you feel like it's pretty consistent with like, I need to take advantage of this, like I could be gone?
Nah, for me, man, I'll be in the car with my wife, and she'll be driving, and I'm hitting imaginary brakes on my side, like like we're about to crash. So like
Yeah.
in those situations, I don't think it ever goes away, especially when you really see like your life flash, like when they say, man, my life flashed in front of my eyes. Like you never like until you go through that experience, you do not know what people are talking about. But it was literally like a flash. Like I thought it was gone. So yeah, so I don't think it goes away per se. It might you know you might
I see what you're
back
saying.
off a little bit, but even as I grew up, I had a friend that was in a car wreck, and he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. So, like for the longest, I'd be riding by myself, and I'm not going to say that I manifested something in what a feeling, but every time that I didn't have my seatbelt, I would think of him, and I'd be like, man, let me put my seatbelt on.
Yeah.
So like I don't think it ever goes away. It might like dissipate some, but it never really goes away.
Where were you at when you found out about Kobe?
Man, I was at home. We was I want to say we had just we were either getting ready to go to church, or we had just got back from church, and seen on my timeline like one of my homies like crying. I'm like, what is you talking about? And so
Right.
how you can unmute a video, and I was like, he was like, man, Kobe Bryant gone, man. I'm like, what is you, man? Whatever. Let me look, and sure enough, like, dude, that kind of like, wow, this can't be real. Like, we just saw Kobe on the sideline, big enough
That
to
was
run.
so weird for Kobe to like lose the record to LeBron, and was it scoring or like total points or something?
It was points.
But like to pass, and then like the next day or like day after is like he's just gone.
Right. That's crazy. But for me, what really hit home is his daughter was with him.
Yep.
And it's like I go to basketball practice with my daughter on Thursdays, and her games are Fridays, and it's like, dude, like I couldn't imagine that. And he still had his wife here and his other daughters, and it's like, man, how can you even get past? It's unimaginable, just to think that your dad and your sister are gone, and just like that, something that was mad regular to them, getting in the helicopter, going to the game or whatever. That's a rich person flex, but that's
yeah.
regular to them. It's
No
like
different than driving a car, kind of,
right,
to them at that point.
right. So it's like, wow.
What did Kobe mean, you think, to culture and to, you know, I don't. I'm just curious why. Do you think it could be any pro athlete, like if it was Kawhi, Russell Westbrook, some
Nah, I
other,
mean,
do you think it's because of who it was? He was a retired, one of the greatest of all time, and then because he died early and he was with his kids, like it just was a bunch of stuff.
it was a bunch of things that added to that. I mean, not to say that any of those other players that you mentioned uh,
Yeah,
are
it wouldn't
not,
be as tragic. Yeah,
significant or anything, but dude, like you grew up watching Kobe.
100%.
You grew up with the Dave Chappelle skit where he's trash talking to a little kid and says Kobe.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Uh huh.
So it's like like he's forever ingrained in your mind as a coach.
Hold on a second. You cut out. All right,
No, I
go.
was I was saying that even you know basketball, he was a cultural icon.
Hmm.
Um, you might have, he was polarizing. After the rape thing, people chose sides with him or whatever, but it still didn't take away from his greatness on the court. And after his retirement, all the young players that he coached up and gave advice to, and yeah, just watching him and Allen Iverson going back and forth for being on the team with Shaq. I hated the fact that Shaq went to the Lakers back in the day because I was a huge Penny Hardaway fan. That's who I grew up liking, and
Hmm.
it's like, man, why you gonna leave Penny like that, man? But he went on to win those championships with Kobe, and at the time it was like uh, Allen Allen Iverson and Kobe were probably like the biggest names in the league at one point, and watching them going back and forth in the finals and stuff. So Kobe was important
Hmm.
to basketball and just to me like hip hop culture. Even though his sneakers sucked until he went to Nike, then they got a little bit better. But
Hmm.
uh, you know everybody remembers Kobe trying to rap and things like that. So it's like he's embedded into our culture and into our memories.
Hmm. How does the average person who maybe was a Lakers fan, maybe just let me make this a little bit broader of application. When a celebrity dies that is very important to you, maybe you never even met them, but someone like Kobe who meant a lot to you. I'm thinking Mac Miller, I'm thinking Nipsey Hussle, I'm thinking Juice World, some people who've died in the last 2 years. How do you practically live on their legacy as maybe, and they mean a lot to you? Like, what would be your tips for that? Any
Uh,
ideas?
just think of all the positive things about them, and keep striving to do your best as they did. Whether that's you're the line cook at Ryan's or something, I don't know, but you should look at their life and their achievements and feel like if you put forth the effort that they did in your life, that you can become successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't always want to say success is making dollars or having this many fans. It could be being a great dad or you know, being the best mechanic or always, you know, doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I feel like you should carry on someone's legacy. Like with Nipsey, I think Nipsey created more entrepreneurs than, you know, anybody out here. Everybody that I know has like a t-shirt line, or, you know, trying to do this or do that, and, you know, in the footsteps of Nipsey, um, just creating your own generational wealth, or um, things like that. Those are the things that he stood on, and a lot of people have followed suit. And that's how I feel like you live on someone's legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they always say something like we're always sitting or standing on the shoulders of our ancestors.
Yeah, definitely. For me, that kind of hits home a lot because my dad is actually from Liberia,
Mm.
and he recently, like, we just sent him off Saturday. He hasn't been back to Liberia since it's been like 40 years.
Wow.
So, you know, my ancestors is literally right behind me, you know, when it comes to that. And just, you know, sometimes I get down on myself a lot just thinking about my dad. It's like, man, my dad came to America with nothing, and he has 2 degrees, and I barely have an associate's degree, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's like, you know, what can I do to live on his legacy? And, you know, thinking about where he comes from and the Civil War that happened in his country, you know, I am a product of those ancestors because I'm here in America, and, you know, I'm making the best of the situations that I have. Um, a lot of times, the disconnect with people from Africa and African Americans is a lot of Africans look at African Americans like, why aren't you taking advantage of these opportunities? And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of African Americans, you know, it's like it's not all what it's cracked up to be. You know, you see, all you see is what you see on TV, vice versa, and so that's the disconnect. If we could all just come together and kind of put those things to the side, I think, you know, we could build legacies more than anything. You look at how Akon went back to I want to say Akon is from Senegal, but he bounced around a lot. He
Right.
went
Yeah.
back and built a city, whole city.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's not like honoring your ancestors, I don't know what is. Like, you go back, you know, you come from back from America and you go whole city. That's kind of wild, but it can be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. I was so nuts that he has his own city now.
Yeah, like, people can flex about having a mansion, you know, owning properties, but do you have your own city though?
But do you, yeah, right. But do you have a city?
Yeah.
What do you think is kind of like a solution to mental health, like improving it?
Man, I would like to think that here recently, like within the last 10 years or 10 or 15 years, that social media has probably like heightened, um, I won't say suicide or anything like that, but this thing or this notion that you have to keep up with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think just kind of backing away from it sometimes will help your mental health, because it's like if you see one image over a certain amount of time, you start in your mind trying to conform to that image. And that image, that's not a perfect image. You know, it just looks that way. And, I feel like if you can draw back from social media, that that would be one step in helping your mental health and just getting in contact with nature. I know it sounds crazy, but I have this thing where, like in the springtime or in the summer, I take my family out to different waterfalls around Tennessee, and just doing that,
That's cool.
and just kind of disconnecting for that time. Also reading stuff, things about positivity, help, and exercising, just doing stuff for your self care in general is good for mental health.
Yeah. I love nature, man. It's such a. I did not used to be that way, but life hits you sometimes. I was talking to somebody about how sometimes. 1 second. I was talking to somebody kind of about like taste buds of life or something like that. I can't remember exactly what I said. It was cool at the time when I said it, but something about how just like how the music we like will change, just for like no reason. Like, well, I like Kid Cudi in middle school and now I don't listen to him at all. And it doesn't have anything to do with like, I just don't want to listen to certain stuff, but, or like we'll go from loving the city to loving the country. And like, I'm so fascinated by humans sometimes.
Man, like for me, like I've recently wanted to get into aquaponics.
What is that? That sounds familiar.
Aquaponics is growing plants. It's kind of like creating an ecosystem using plants and fish.
Okay.
So like you use the fish waste or whatever to fertilize plants, but it's going through this I guess a hydration system. I haven't really like studied it that
You're not
much.
an expert yet.
Yeah, but it's just something that's fascinating. It's like, dude, you can literally grow your own food in your backyard if you have the space. And I actually wanted to start a business like that back home, because it's a lot of like warehouses and stuff that have closed down back home. But my city sits right on the river, so it would actually be, kind of beneficial. And it's a centralized city. It's right off 24, which is like the main vein from, you know, from the south to the Midwest. But that's just one of my dreams that I have written down. So
Yeah. Well, you get there.
but
Sounds fun.
but it's like getting in touch with nature. It's plants and fish. So yeah.
When shit hits the fan, what do you kind of lean on? Do you journal a lot? Do you need someone to vent to? What's your kind of like process, either with trauma or like difficulty, depression, and anxiety?
Man, for me, like it's really like the total opposite of what you should do. But like I have to get alone and I have to process it on my own. I have to sit and analyze and talk to God about it, and work it out, and then I eventually, talk to my wife or one of my good friends about the situation. But for me, it always starts with me. If it's affecting me, I have to sit and process it first. Most of the time they tell you not to isolate yourself when you're going through hard times, but I found that that's just my coping mechanism is
Right.
getting by myself and processing everything.
What's kind of like one of the you kind of answered it. Never mind. I was going to ask you what's like a mistake people make, but you kind of mentioned it. Let's see. Oh, do you have a motto?
I would say that I have several. I mean, my name is an acronym, so it's driven only under God's hands. One of my other ones I live by is because most of the people, when I tell them what my name stands for, it's almost like I get this thing where they try to treat me like I'm holier than thou, and it's like, dude, I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. So, like, you don't have to put on no act for me. I'm not perfect. I cuss. I drink. I'm not perfect. So why try to be? Don't try to change who you are around me. So that's like one of my. I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in.
You have that tatted?
No, like I only have like 2 tattoos. I'm dark skinned, so these tattoos barely show up on me. So it's kind of like a waste of money.
You know it's there, I guess.
Yeah, I know it's there, but yeah.
All right, man. Now we're into the final stretch, the final 5 questions.
Okay.
First question: what is 2020 goals? Or what are 2020 goals?
Oh man, to push my artists to the max, pushing everybody around me to the max to accomplish these goals. Just being ubiquitous, I guess, being everywhere at once, and making sure that the brand is strong. Like, I want to make sure that Higher Ground is mentioned when it comes to Nashville. I want to be one of those people that they mention as far as hip hop goes, and alternative pop, because I do have artists that's like alternative pop on the roster, but just want to be mentioned there first and foremost, and then venturing out to different cities and making a name for ourselves.
Right.
Also, just starting. That's like a big thing for me in 2020 is I started doing the episodes, I guess the vlogs or whatever, and my next step, I mentioned in one of my songs, is I have a little donut business that I'm starting. I won't go into detail about it, but that's something that I look forward to doing in 2020. It all stems from my dad. When he was in college, he worked at this bakery. He worked himself through school at this bakery back in Murray. And, he had, when the guy had retired and closed down the business, he ended up giving my dad like all his donut making equipment. And, for the longest, my dad had a donut shop in Paducah. And then he eventually moved to Hopkinsville, but he kind of switched businesses to doing more catering. But that was something that always stuck with me. So it's kind of like a full circle thing for me.
Yeah.
I go by dough. Kind of like
what would you call it? Donuts, or?
Nah, I got a couple. Like, I don't want to put it.
Oh, okay, yeah, top secret names. Yeah, it's not ready yet.
But just kind of like taking that and making or doing marketing just based off that alone. Because maybe 2 years ago, I had a showcase called Donuts with Dough, and like everything in there was donut themed. We had like big donut floaties in the crowd. We took pictures with.
That's great. I always love when artists have those like floaties or the giant beach ball things. Those are always fun.
Yeah, we had I had all my merch, my T-shirts and stuff. I had them in like the clear bakery boxes. So I'm just expanding more with that this year.
That's good.
My project, I wouldn't really call it a project. At first, I was putting out a EP called Half a Dozen, but
Perfect.
I think I'm turning it into like a playlist, and I'll probably eventually put it out.
Instead of an EP, it's just like donut holes or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a flavor of the month type thing, or flavor of the week. So this is half a
Yeah,
dozen.
there's a lot of marketing there. You did a good job with this.
Yeah, so just doing that and just helping out more artists. That's pretty much it, and really focusing on my family as well. Uh, just spending some more time with them and getting everything together with my daughter playing basketball because her daddy is not Kobe, but she can be my Gigi.
Yep, right.
And my son playing football, which he's really not like. He's not an athlete, but he tries, and that's all you want.
Yep.
He wants to be more in the entertainment. He's like an actor. He wants to be an actor, director type thing. So, I buy him video equipment or use my phone, and he shoots videos and things of that nature. So that's just something that I'm looking forward to doing in the rest of 2020.
You get to perform or attend like front row VIP with any artist in history.
Man, I always wanted to see Jay-Z. I've seen him perform. I always wanted to see Jay-Z perform. I think because for Jay-Z, he's not like a hype rapper. And just to see someone that can control a crowd just off lyrics alone and stage presence, I think that would be like dope to see.
Yeah, that's a good one. Since your name's Doe, what is your favorite bread?
My favorite bread is a tie between my mom's sourdough bread that she makes and her banana nut bread.
Okay.
As far as donuts, I just like all donuts. I like anything sweet. I'm a fat dude, so
There you go. Being honest. Yeah. We're all about transparency and donuts here on Classic Buffalo.
Yeah, man. Even if they made a buffalo flavored donut, I might try that. You never know.
Is Chick-fil-A overrated or underrated? Or accurately rated, I guess.
I'm from the South, so Chick-fil-A is everything. It's been everything since I can remember. But the Popeyes chicken sandwich
oh my gosh,
definitely kind of like made you side eye the chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. Like, yeah, like, bro.
Here are my thoughts. That's true.
But I can go get this Popeyes chicken sandwich 7 days out the week. It is just as delicious.
I felt like the Popeyes chicken sandwich felt like a deli chicken, and like the pickles. I like the pickles better. I don't know for whatever reason, but like I still like the Chick-fil-A sandwich just for the flavor of the sandwich or whatever. I don't know, but I felt like the Popeyes sandwich was a good chicken sandwich.
Yeah. I mean, like, to me, Chick-fil-A is always gonna be the chicken sandwich king.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But yeah, like Popeyes kind of started the war. Yeah, like they came in and tried to shake things up.
Yeah, World War III. And then here's the last one. What's your favorite part of yourself?
Favorite part of myself is I feel like I'm able to connect to pretty much anybody. Um, being that I grew up, my dad uh, married a white lady, and so like my the people that I have been around has been diverse. From
Mm-hmm.
my dad being from Liberia, so I have that experience. My stepmom being white, I have that experience. Um, when my dad first came to America, he was Muslim. I have that experience. My mom, um, being being really into her faith. That's an experience. And just music in general just keeps you around a very diverse crowd of people. So I feel I can connect to a lot more people. Just being who I am.
Mm.
But for me, I am who I am, and you will never find me code switching. if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
that I know what you're talking about, but kind of elaborate for other people who may not know what code switching is.
it's like trying to adapt to certain cultures or
Mm-hmm.
a group of people just to fit in with them. Like, if, for example, you go on a job interview and you know that the person that's interviewing you is white, so you turn on your white voice, like, "Hey,
Yep.
my name is Jonathan Duo. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to come and interview with you." And
Yep.
that's not me. I'm gonna just be.
Mm-hmm.
I am who I am. I can't like turn it on or turn it off or anything. I'm just me. Uh,
Yep.
but yeah, that's
Code
something that,
switching is so interesting to me.
yeah, but it's it's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, it is.
So I won't even go deeper into
Part
it.
two.
But yeah, yeah, man.
All right, man. So what I want to do now is I want you to pick a person, significant other, your kid, whoever you want. You're picking someone that you want to shout out and say like, "Hey, Janice from eighth grade, and like, thanks so much for teaching me about this," or you're just encouraging a person right now, and then you're going to kind of share this part of the podcast with them. So take your time and pick anybody. Just kind of shout them for as long as you want.
Yo, I want to shout out my daughter Kenzie. Her birthday was January 30th. She's a developing basketball player, and I just love seeing her doing her thing on the basketball court. It just excites me that she gets excited about running up and down the court because some kids are not that excited about doing anything that requires activity, physical activity. So I'm just so proud of her. Just wanting to be a better basketball player, and you know, she's a perfectly bad kid. She likes Barbie dolls, but she also likes LeBron. So, so I would have shot her out. But I don't want to leave my son out either. I can't, do one without the other. My son is Jaden, is very incredible, very intelligent, always gonna keep you on your toes and laughing. And I appreciate you for doing that, son, because some days daddy's gonna be having the best days, and here you come trying to make your daddy laugh, and I'm like, dude, go away. And thinking that you are the drip king, like I'm not the one that buys all your clothes. So yeah, your daddy got style, sir. So I want to shout him out for being who he is, the little jokester and actor and everything that he does. I just love that kid to death because just like me, but the qualities that he possesses are things that I wish I had. Like he is the center of attention in any room, and he's gonna make you know that I'm Jaden Duo. So shout
Mm-hmm.
out to him too.
Sweet. All right, man. Plug what you want to plug here. Where can people find you? What do you want to promote?
You can find me on Instagram at I am Do. That's IAMDOUGH. That's my personal brand. And shout out my team, Higher Ground. And you can find us on Instagram at HGHRGRNDCO. That's on Instagram and Twitter. I am Doe on Twitter, but it's underscore I am Doe because somebody was hating and took my name. But I want to shout out. I'm trying to remember everybody that's on the team right now. So if I leave your name out, don't kill me, bro. You know, so I'm charges to my head, not my heart. Shout out Brian Opalek. I'm probably Opalik. I'm saying his name wrong. That's my engineer. Shout out Chris King, Chino, Zuki, Z Smith, Hayes, Bobby Trill. Let's see, Jacob Buddha. Shout out B Stokes, Tylen, aka Wall. Let's see. Shout out Devonna Taylor down in Memphis. Golly. Shout out Elijah. Elijah, he part of the team. Shout out my homie Carlos Partee from Cashville, etc. My guy Troy from Legacy Design that does all my merch. It's like my brother, man. And shout out to my wife. I can't, get out of here without shouting her out. Keisha, I love you. Thank you for allowing me to be today. But that's about it. Shout out to my family.
Sweet. Thanks so much for joining me, man. It's been a true joy to kind of have you on.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And shout out to everybody in Indianapolis. I need to come up there, go to Square Cat Vinyl.
There you go.
All right, man.
All right, man. We'll be in touch, all right?
All right, man.
See you, buddy.